You ever try to relax, and your brain won't let you? Nothing went wrong. Nothing serious happened. But your mind keeps pulling you back to something small. A sentence you said, a look someone gave you, a tiny shift that most people would forget. And it shouldn't matter this much. But it does. And no matter how many times you go over it, it still doesn't feel finished. So you go again and again and again. And at some point, you're not even trying to understand it anymore. You're just stuck in it, exhausted from something that isn't even happening anymore. And the frustrating part is, you can see it happening. You're not unaware. You can literally feel the loop while you're inside it. It's like part of you is thinking, and another part of you is watching it happen. You tell yourself this isn't a big deal. You try to move on. You try to distract yourself. But it doesn't stick, because that unfinished feeling is still there. Quiet, persistent, waiting. And this is where it gets confusing. Because logically, you know there's nothing to solve. But emotionally, it doesn't feel finished. And that's the part your brain responds to. Not logic, not facts, but that small, unresolved feeling. Most people call this overthinking, but that word doesn't really capture it, because it doesn't feel random. It feels like something needs to be completed, like there's a loose end, something unclear, something that didn't land properly. And until that feeling settles, your brain keeps going back. If you slow it down enough, you can catch the exact moment it begins. It's not when the thoughts start. It's earlier than that. It's that tiny moment where something feels slightly off. Not wrong enough to react, but not clear enough to ignore. That's the trigger. That's where your brain locks in. If you slow it down enough, you can catch the exact moment it begins. It's not when the thoughts start. It's earlier than that. It's that tiny moment where something feels slightly off. Not wrong enough to react, but not clear enough to ignore. That's the trigger. That's where your brain locks in. And then comes the first thought. Usually something simple. That was a little weird. Did that come out wrong? Why did that feel different? And for most people, a thought like that would pass. But for you, it doesn't. It lingers. It sticks. It asks for attention. So your mind leans into it, trying to close the gap, trying to make it make sense. What did they mean? Did something change? Did I say something wrong? Was there something I should have noticed? And the more you look, the more it feels like there has to be something there. And once it starts, it expands. One thought becomes 3. 3 becomes 10. You start replaying the moment, then adjusting it, then questioning it, then imagining different versions of it. What you could have said, what you should have said, what they might have meant. And now, you're not just remembering it, you're rebuilding it. And sometimes, you try to stop. You catch yourself. You tell yourself, okay, enough. You try to shift your attention, but a few seconds later, you're back. Because your brain hasn't marked it as finished yet, so it keeps reopening it. That's why it shows up like this. You replay conversations hours later. You rethink decisions that are already made. You reread messages, even when nothing changed. You analyze tone, timing, pauses, like they carry meaning. You go back again, hoping this time it will feel settled, but it doesn't. And sometimes, nothing even happened. No conflict, no mistake, no clear issue. But your brain still searches, still scans, still tries to find something to resolve, because it doesn't fully trust that everything is okay. If your mind has ever done this, taken something small and turned it into something you couldn't let go, pause for a second. What's one thing your brain kept replaying way longer than it should have? Drop it in the comments. You'll start to see this pattern is shared more than you think. Here's what's actually happening. Your brain doesn't like unfinished things. Anything unclear, anything uncertain, anything that doesn't fully make sense, your mind treats it like an open loop. And open loops don't disappear. They stay active. They stay in the background, waiting to be completed. And this is why it feels so convincing. Because it doesn't feel optional. It feels necessary. Like if you stop thinking about it, you're ignoring something important. Like there's a missing piece. So your mind keeps going, trying to find it. Underneath all of this, there's usually a rule running in the background. Something like, I need to get this right. I shouldn't miss things. I need to understand what's going on. I can't afford to be wrong here. You don't consciously say it, but your brain follows it. So everything gets checked. Everything gets reviewed. And this didn't start recently. For a lot of people, this pattern started early, in environments where things weren't predictable, where reactions changed, where moods shifted, where you had to read between the lines. You learned to notice everything, to think ahead, to anticipate, because if you could understand what was happening, you could stay safe. Here's why it's hard to stop. Because while it's happening, it doesn't feel like a problem. It feels like progress, like you're getting closer to clarity. Like if you just go over it one more time, you'll finally figure it out. But most of the time, you're not moving forward. You're looping, looking at the same moment from slightly different angles, trying to extract something new from the same information. And because your brain is active, it feels like progress, but it isn't. And your brain reinforces this. Every time you analyze something, your brain gives you a small reward, not for solving anything, just for thinking. So thinking itself starts to feel necessary. That's why stopping feels uncomfortable, because it doesn't feel like letting go. It feels like leaving something unfinished, like closing something before it's complete. So your mind pulls you back in. Just one more time, just one more angle, just one more thought. Over time, this changes how you move through life. You hesitate more, you second guess more, you hold back more. Even simple decisions feel heavier because everything gets analyzed. And it's not just mental. It drains your energy. You feel tired, even when you haven't done much, because your mind never fully stops working. It keeps running in the background, reviewing, checking, trying to finish things. And that's where the exhaustion comes from. Not from thinking itself, but from never reaching a point where thinking feels done, where you can say, this is enough, and actually feel it. But here's the part most people miss. This pattern is connected to awareness. People who experience this usually notice more than others. You pick up on subtle details, tone, timing, small shifts. You don't just hear words, you read what's underneath them. The issue isn't that you notice too much. It's that everything you notice feels like it needs to be resolved. And when everything feels important, nothing ever feels settled. So the solution isn't to stop thinking. It's to stop treating every thought like it needs to be finished. Instead of, this means something. Shift to, my brain is trying to finish something right now. Because that creates space, a small gap between you and the loop. And in that gap, you don't have to follow it. Next time your mind goes, that was weird, I should have said something else. They probably noticed that. Pause. My brain is trying to finish something, and then leave it there. So if your mind feels constant, like it won't turn off, this isn't because something is wrong with you. It's because your brain learned to not leave things unfinished, to stay aware, to stay ahead, to make sure nothing gets missed. And it got really good at it. And if this felt familiar, if this sounds like your normal thinking, you're not the only one. And this is exactly what we're going to keep breaking down. So, if you want to understand your mind better and stop getting pulled into these loops, consider subscribing.